Welcome to our review of the RE16 Seller Representation Agreement. Just like with the RE14, if you reviewed the Buyer's Representation Agreement, not a lot of changes this year to these forms, but this particular one, you're going to see a change right here in our Section 6. And this actually stems off of some changes or continues with some changes that were made last year in the 2025 forms. As we know, this paragraph, or as you would know if you've been practicing for a bit, in the last 2 years at least, this paragraph was added due to the practice of addressing the buyer's agent's compensation through a purchase sale agreement. We know that we have conversations with our sellers, and our sellers, we're going to talk to them about what type of compensation is going to be paid for listing the property. We're going to talk about cooperating, sharing with a buyer's agent if that is something that the sellers are interested in. We're going to explain to them the positives of doing that or any pitfalls that may exist. And ultimately, if a seller decides there's a certain amount to be shared with a cooperating brokerage, we know that those can be a moving target and it can change from offer to offer. So sometimes a seller, for example, may start off by saying, well, this is the amount I want to share with a cooperating brokerage, basically providing something to the selling brokerage, the buyer's agent. And nothing wrong with that, but perhaps an offer comes in that has a number higher or lower. For example, if it's a really good, really strong offer that a seller wants to entertain, maybe seller's motivated to provide more to a buyer who's saying, look, this is my offer, but I'm a buyer and I've entered into a contract with my agent to be paid X percent. And I need you to meet that. If not, then I can't make the offer in this manner or even make this offer. So the seller decides, yeah, okay, I can do that because this is a strong offer and something I want to do. They can address that in the RE21 in the section that provides for a compensation to a buyer's agent. Well, once that happened, we wanted to go back and address it because we know that this representation agreement would exist before that RE21. So as I was using in my example, there is a certain amount of the price percentage-wise that may be shared, or perhaps it's a flat fee to be shared with cooperating brokerage. And perhaps to continue off the example, the seller had a number in there that was too low, that wasn't working, and the sellers decided to offer some more for whatever reasons. And so this number now needs to go up. And so it would go up in the RE21. That's great. That's binding. But we want to go back and make sure that all of our contracts play within each other. That's part of the huge benefit that you have using these statewide contracts, is that they are all drafted with an idea of an understanding of how they work together. So contemplating a change in a purchase sale agreement to this line up here, one of the ways it could be addressed is just to go back and do an addendum, or whether it's an RE16A or just an addendum that changes this. That's certainly nothing wrong with doing it in that particular fashion. That would just be sometimes there's just an email between the list agent and their client that documents this. But we want to make it a little more fluid. So that's when this paragraph was added, or this paragraph of this section in here. This was added last year to allow for that. And what that is, and this may be repetitive to a lot of folks, but it's worth repeating. What happens is, in the event a seller subsequent to signing this agreement executes a purchase sale agreement with a purchaser, or any other agreement consenting to pay the cooperating brokerage an amount different than the amount stated above in this agreement. So again, that's what I just talked about in my example. That's what we're trying to address. Then we say the subsequent agreement shall control, and the total brokerage fee is increased or decreased accordingly. And so that's that's been there for a while, but this new language was added for that transaction only. Because as we were finding out that there were circumstances after this paragraph was added that, again, to use my example, the reason that the seller was offering to increase something that was being paid to a cooperating brokerage because the buyer asked for it, that's related to that buyer's transaction. When the buyer comes in and says, hey, here's an all-cash offer. It's very strong. Maybe it's over list price. It's more than what you wanted to do. I'm looking to move quick. I want to be very, I want to entice the seller to go under contract right away. That's the kind of determination a seller may be making just because of that offer, just because of that transaction. This language that was added sort of limits that, and so that you didn't have to have again another offer. Let's say that very strong offer I was just referencing falls apart for whatever reason through inspection or what have you. Then the seller's still on the market. He's still looking at other offers, but people are coming in at list price or below. And so now sellers say, no, I'm back to where I was originally, which is what I stated right here in these lines. And so the idea of this is, look, we're going to, that purchase sale agreement is going to be related to a specific transaction. And so if we're adjusting in that purchase sale agreement, we want it, again, just for that transaction only. So that's where these 4 words came in. They're actually 4 very big words. Make sure you're aware that they're there and that they are limiting for that transaction only. If your seller decides to just universally offer more or less to buyer's agents as this goes on, then that's the type of circumstance where you would use a 16A to make a modification more long-term to apply to any offers or any transactions that may come in. And we're going to see some language in the 16A that references this as well. Again, it's an excellent example of how all these forms play together and play off of each other. So with that, the only other modification that we have in this form is down here. And this is in a paragraph that exists in our forms. Again, we're just adding some language, strengthening some language that's in there, or clarifying. This paragraph exists for the reason of advising our clients that, in this particular agreement, it is a seller client, that the brokerage is going to represent other buyers and sellers. That's just the nature of the beast. You know that you're going to have listings out there. For a brokerage, it's going to almost always have multiple listings on the market, and so this is letting our clients know that. And so you're telling a seller right off the bat, hey, look, we're going to have other clients. And this, by the way, doesn't have anything to do with necessarily a dual representation situation, although they, again, dovetail nicely together. But the idea is we're putting them on notice. And so if you can think of a way that this might come up as a problem, perhaps a seller has a home listed. And of course, now that the home is hired a brokerage and says, yeah, I'm hiring you to list it, take some great pictures, put it out there in the MLS and market it. And go find me some really good buyers for this thing. Get me the money I'm looking for. And so the brokerage does all that like they always would. And then, of course, if brokerage has multiple clients, you're going to be doing that exact same thing for a seller, maybe across the street, maybe in the same neighborhood, or maybe just completely, clear across town. And buyers are coming along, and a seller says, well, wait a minute, you were showing them, that other home, but they didn't buy it, and you showed them my home, but they ended up buying the other home, not mine. We're disclosing this is going on, and so you don't want that seller come back saying, "Oh, that's a conflict. You should have forced those buyers to buy my home," or whatever ridiculous argument that the seller may make. This is putting them on notice to say, "No, look, we told you at the outset of this that we do represent other clients, be they buyers or sellers, and that we're going to be showing them everybody's properties, and ultimately those the buyers are going to be making their own decisions." So with that is the end of our changes to the RE16.